Spoiler alert! The size on your clothes does not matter. Your body does. So this year, we're breaking up with the number on our jeans. You guys, welcome back to the opinion you didn't ask for. I'm Hannah, and it is 2026. We have started a new year, and you know I love goals. I'm a goals girly, and I feel like the number one goal people always have has to do with, weight loss, going to the gym more, right? Like that is the number one time of year that gym sales fly. Everyone has decided they're going to change who they are, have better habits, and I was reviewing my last year's goals, and which we all know is how I ended up in this situation, was having a goal. But the number one thing I had on my New Year's resolutions for last year was to lose 50 pounds. And I had steps of how I was going to do it and goals to fit in these certain jeans that I bought pre-third pregnancy because I had gotten in great shape after my second and I thought I was done. So I was in this amazing shape. I bought these jeans. They were my goal jeans and they fit me for one whole day because then I got pregnant with my third, right? So I have been staring at these jeans in my closet for a really long time, but that was on my list of things to accomplish and be able to do with that 50-pound weight loss. Well, I'm going to just break it to you. I didn't lose 50 pounds. I lost 40 pounds. So did I celebrate that? Absolutely not. Because in my mind, I was like, well, that was a fail. I did not accomplish my goal. So, we're working on celebrating small wins. I'm working on, which 40 pounds is not small wins. I am very aware of that. But in my brain, I hold that number to such high expectations. Queen of disappointment over here. Okay, I did not hit the number I wanted, so therefore I failed, right? No, that's not how it works. I should be so ecstatic that I was able to do that while being a mom to 3 kids, while starting this, while living our life. I was able to accomplish that, and I created amazing habits. I just did not reach that number goal. The scale was not on my side. Those jeans still in my closet in the still cannot wear pile, but they are so much closer to fitting me than they were a year ago. Small wins, baby steps, okay? So I feel like this time of year is a great time to reevaluate, where you've been, where you want to go, and to set these goals. And for me, I feel like the setting of the goal for weight loss and for, body image is a lot deeper for me than it is for a lot of other people. And as I've been contemplating what my New Year's resolutions will be, what new goals I want to accomplish, I have been remembering the trauma that I experienced as a young child all through growing up, and then, as an adult, and why I have such a hard time with this whole weight loss goal, with this New Year's resolution, with, everyone going to the gym and wanting to accomplish that, because I have really bad body dysmorphia. I have really bad self-love when it comes to my body, because of the things I have gone through from such a young age, that I still see myself as that girl who was bullied for so many years for her weight and who struggled and, all of that. So when I was about 8 years old, my mom went through a hard time, and to cope with that, she turned to emotional eating. And I am the youngest in my family, and so my mom had me a lot with her to run errands and to go do things. And so I was with her when she would decide to stop and eat fast food or go get ice cream. Okay, we were regulars at Cold Stone Creamery. We were there probably more than the owners were at this point. So I don't know why we didn't just buy a steak. We'd be doing real well in the company's shares right now. But we would go into Cold Stone and she'd let me have my own. And I'm a child, right? Like I don't know portion control. I don't know boundaries with food. And so I wouldn't just get the like it size, right? I'm talking sizes here. I know them all by heart. There's the like it size, the love it size, the gotta have it size. You guys, we got the got to have it size every time. And I'm not talking we shared it. She didn't like the kind I got. I didn't like the kind she got. My mom is not a sharer of food. So here I am from a young age eating the gotta have it size of Cold Stone birthday cake remix, okay? Like, this is my favorite ice cream in the world, but there is such a thing as too much, right? Like, so I started gaining a lot of weight at a young age, and there is no one meaner in elementary school than boys. Those boys are brutal, okay? I will do everything in my power to make sure my boys are not like that. But I had elementary school bullies, and they were these two boys, and they would walk around and tell me how fat I was, right? They would make every fat comment you can possibly think of. And one day they came up to me and said, "You're whiter than 5 trains put together." Which now you hear that and you're like, that's the stupidest insult you could give to someone. Like, that's not possible in the slightest degree. The fattest person on this planet is not that wide, okay? So I'm like, are we talking, baby toy train cars? Like, what are we talking here? Because it's not real trains. But I was in the 5th grade when that comment was made, and it was devastating, right? How could they A, say that to someone, and B, is it true? Like, am I that big? Am I that fat? Like, I'm spiraling here. I'm a child, and these boys are saying this, and so it must be true. Like, I must be enormous. I must be as wide as 5 trains put together. No, newsflash, I surely wasn't. So that's where it all started. And that really affects, I think, the psyche of a child, right? Like I am fragile, people. So then we go into middle school and woof, you could not pay me enough money in the universe to go back to middle school. Okay. Treacherous time. But I was in the 6th grade and, there's all these new kids because it's all the elementary schools coming together. And I had a crush on this boy. Man, trauma, really. Don't ever go back to middle school. That's all I can say. That's when everyone was getting phones. And there was this boy who I had a crush on. And I got his number, but he didn't have my number. So when you would text like you didn't know the person? I don't know. I am so grateful that I do not have to be in middle school today, because I could not keep up. They are too advanced nowadays. They didn't have the awkward stages we all had back then. So, awkward. This is as cringy as you can imagine, but I'm actually having to live it. That's how bad it was. But, it's when your friends would text someone and be like, "Oh, how do you feel about her?" But you're sitting right next to them. Okay, we're in that situation. So I was at this girl's house. She liked this guy's friend. We knew they were hanging out after school that day. Anyway, so she texted the boy I liked and asked, like, "Oh, what do you think of her?" And he replies with, "Oh, is that the girl with thunder thighs and a 6-pack of rolls?" And it's okay, you guys, I can laugh about it. Now. But man, at the time, brutal. Shot to the heart, right? Like, once again, the audacity of these boys, the nerve of these boys They are so confident in themselves, okay? They all weighed 50 pounds and were skinny sticks, okay? Heaven forbid a girl has some curves. So, obviously I didn't do well in the boy department, right? Like I wasn't this tiny little girl that all the boys were obsessed over. That was just not my experience. And that's okay. I have healed since that comment because my husband loves my thighs and I do not have a 6-pack of rolls, but you know what? I can eat a 6-pack of rolls in a second because who doesn't love some carbs? But I am okay now. But man, if I could just go back and give younger Hannah a hug in that moment to be like, he's just insecure. Like, you are a confident, happy, wonderful girl, and he is just an awkward boy in middle school. The pressures to be popular, the pressures to be cool, and to kind of be edgy, maybe slightly mean, right? Like, and I have forgiven this boy. He's never apologized. I don't think he remembers this ever even happened. I still know his name, not the point. But things like that will stick with the person who is being bullied way longer than the person who said the things, right? Like, that's a fact. And so, that was kind of my middle school experience. Boys were not very nice to me. Jokes were constantly made. I found out that some of the boys from my friend group had given me a nickname, and it was Bob, like B-O-B, and it was an acronym for big obvious boobs because I developed in middle school, unfortunately. Okay, not only was I chubby, I also had boobs. They're these like scrawny, immature boys, hot mess, okay? And it was not flattering. Some people would be like, oh, cute. No, it wasn't flattering because they also weren't saying it from a place of like, oh, I have a crush on her and oh, she has this going for her. No, it was just another thing to point out about me and to make me insecure and feel bad about myself. And so those were constantly the things I would hear, the things that were said about me. And you would think, okay, it gets better. Wrong. It gets worse. So then we go to 8th grade year. It's the last day of 8th grade. You know how they had those, after school parties, you'd have one friend who has the party. Well, it happened to be at one of my best friend's houses who she was in multiple different sports. So she had a lot of friends from different things. And so she invited everyone. We were all there and we all knew each other. I grew up in a very small town. Okay. This was not like the biggest school in the world. We didn't know each other. We all knew each other. We could all get along. It was totally fine. It wasn't awkward. And so we were at her house. We're playing games outside. Well, half of us ran in the house. I mean, childish. You look back and you're like, how juvenile. But we ran in the house and we shut the door to lock out like half the girls. And I was against the glass door. And then everyone was like behind me pushing on the door. I'm also pretty sure we locked the door. So this was all just more for the drama effect of like, we've locked you out. And I will never forget that this one girl, I mean, everyone's laughing, we're all joking like, haha, they're all open the door, that kind of thing. And I'm against the glass, standing there, having fun, thinking nothing of it. And this girl goes in front of everyone out loud, well, Hannah's against the door, so we're never going to be able to get it open. And of course, people laugh because it's just easy. It's easy to laugh in moments like that when someone is uncomfortable or if someone is okay with comments like that being made about another person. But I remember I just moved out of the way and I walked away and I didn't care if they unlocked the door. I didn't care if they all came in. Because at that moment, I was like, oh, in this whole room of people, that is acceptable to be said about me. And these are all supposed to be, friends or acquaintances of friends or, whatever it may be. And I don't remember one person coming to see if I was okay or be like, that was so rude, or nothing, right? Like, because it's middle school, people don't know how to stand up for each other. You don't really have girls yet. That hasn't really been introduced into their world. And I think that now looking back, I've had a lot of time to reflect since middle school. And the girl who said it, which this is the irony, is that she was bigger than me in every sense of the word, right? Like, I am a very short person. She is taller. She was bigger built. She's bigger than me. And so I realized that I think it was more an insecurity on her part to attack me, because if people are looking at me and laughing at me, they're not noticing her, that her insecurities aren't being brought to light in that moment. And hurt people, right? She probably was experiencing comments behind closed doors or in other friend group settings that were hurting her. So she was taking that and putting it on me. And once again, never received an apology, but I have forgiven, because who's going to be hurt in these situations? Am I going to just call them up one day and be like, hi, you owe me an apology for the 8th grade? No. But I've been able to take a lot of what has happened, and I will be able to shape my daughter into being the girl who won't laugh at comments like that about people, who will never make comments like that, who will verbally stand up for someone, because I want her to know, like, you can be a girl's girl at 6 years old, okay? She looks for the good in everyone. She loves to compliment people. She doesn't look at their body size. She doesn't look at what clothes they're wearing. Like, she does not care. She can see beauty in everyone, because everyone has beauty and everyone has something to offer, and every body is different, right? Like, there is no perfect body. You could have the skinniest girl who everyone is like, oh, her body's perfect, but she has a hard time going upstairs. And then you can have someone with some thicker thighs that can bound up the stairs by twos and doesn't break a sweat, right? Like, the idea and the image around what is beauty and what a body should look like has been so wrong for so long that we're having to retrain our brains of, like, what is beautiful, what is amazing. So now you're thinking, okay, middle school was rough. She survived it. It got better. All right, here's the highlight of the story. So between my 8th and 9th grade year, my dad was embarrassed by my weight, and I cannot be mad at him for this. He grew up in a different time. He does care how people look. Like, he feels like people should look a certain way, and so he was doing, I think, what he thought was okay, and he offered to pay me to lose weight because he was embarrassed by what I looked like. Which, if my husband wonders why I am so financially motivated by things, he shouldn't have to look very far. Ding, 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 I found the reason why. So here I am, 14 years old, being paid to lose weight. And I lost a decent amount of weight, and I did it for the money. And I remember going into Victoria's Secret, and in the pink section, there was this bright pink sweat set. Like a jacket, zip up, and matching sweatpants with black letters that said pink on the back and on the leg. And it was the cutest thing ever, right? And I was so proud of that because I was like, man, I worked for this. Like, I worked really hard for this. And I wore it to school. And I remember going to high school, I feel like there was a shift even in just how people looked at me. Like, oh, she's not the fat girl anymore. Like, I still wasn't super skinny, but I wasn't fat, so it was acceptable, right? And people would compliment this sweat set. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, my worth is amplified because of this weight loss. And I wasn't losing weight as fast as I wanted to anymore, because I guess once that initial weight dropped off, you hit a plateau. I also don't know how I don't know how to eat right. I don't know how to do my macros or lifting or cardio. I don't know what I'm doing. So I found myself with an eating disorder. And I don't know what in the world is prompting me to tell people about this, because I have kept this a secret since that day. No one in high school knew I had an eating disorder. I haven't told majority of people in my life. I remember the day I told my husband, and I remember that he cried because he was so sad for little me, who felt like I needed to do that to myself in order to feel beautiful or to feel seen or to fit in a specific size of clothing. And I think that was the first time I told someone out loud about, what I had gone through. And I mean, since then, I don't know if I've told more than, a handful of people. I don't know actually how many people in this world know about it. And whether they knew about it and then just never said anything to me in high school, I have no idea. But it was my entire freshman year into my sophomore year that I was bulimic, and it created a very unhealthy relationship with food, because I would eat like everyone else at the parties, but I knew I wasn't planning to keep it in later. And so it was this very unhealthy relationship that I had now with food. And the smaller I got, the worse I felt, but, the more attention I received. And it wasn't even that much attention, by the way. I want the record to show. It was not like I had every guy in the world running after me. That wasn't the reality. It was more just when I walked into a room, I didn't feel like people looked at me and was like, oh, the fat girl has arrived, right? Like that's where I just wasn't there. And so I remember being in, I don't even know, a health class or some class that I was in, and somehow eating disorders got brought up, and we had to learn about them. And the eating disorder that I struggled with, being bulimia, it was like side effects can be, and one of the side effects that got brought up was, and now I don't even know if this is factual, if we're being honest, but this is what, my high school teacher had on this slideshow presentation, was that girls who struggle with bulimia can have a hard time having babies, or it can cause problems with even being able to get pregnant. And I remember that day, I decided being skinny was not worth risking the chance to one day have babies, because I wanted to be a mom more than anything. I could not wait to be a mom. And so I was like, that's it, like cold turkey. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I did pretty good, right? Like obviously everyone struggles. You relapse every now and then. But for the most part, I feel like I was able to overcome it just for the drive alone to be a mom one day, for that hope, for that small sliver that I hadn't gone too long, that I hadn't done it too much, that my body would be able to recover, because I had enough years, hopefully, before I started having kids that my body could heal. And I just prayed. I remember praying and begging God to not punish me for that, because I didn't know better. And so that was genuinely a fear that I had up until getting pregnant with my daughter, that for years I worried I had ruined my chances to be a mom. And thankfully that didn't happen. But it's crazy what we are willing to do at such young ages, that we don't know the consequences and the repercussions of our choices. We only see in that small moment. We only see what is happening right then and there. And for me in high school, it was being not the fat girl. It was not being looked at like my worth was based on the size of clothes I had. And I remember going into stores And I would buy jeans that were too small, and I would suck in so hard to get those jeans on because they were a smaller size. And that is what the smaller girls were wearing. And I needed to be able to fit in those. You guys, I felt like a busted can of biscuits every day. Like, when you hear that pop and they just open up, that is how I felt. When I would go to unbutton those pants, I felt like the seams were going to rip out of the jeans. Okay, that is how I felt. Skinny jeans, that was unfortunately my era of pants. Now these baggy pants that you can wear 5 times the size of pants you actually are in and it's socially acceptable. Rude. That should have been my era. Whatever. I will never forget my birthday one year. My sister gave me a shirt from Buckle and I opened it and the tag, I didn't even look at the shirt, okay? The tag said M. She had bought me a medium. The audacity. Was she calling me fat? You guys, I acted like the most ungrateful brat because I felt like she was poking at me. I felt like she was making fun of me. Like, you're a medium. Because my sister was super skinny in high school. She didn't struggle with any of this. But no, that was not what it was. All shirts are made different, right? All fabrics are different. The way that sizing is, oversized wasn't a thing back in the day. And this specific shirt just ran smaller. So she bought me a shirt that looked like it would fit. It sure did. It fit me and it was cute. But I always struggled because I knew what the tag said. I knew that tag was saying a medium. So then I was like, when people look at me, they're seeing medium. That's what they're seeing on my face, on my body. Like, oh, that girl's in a medium. Whale. That's what I'm thinking that they're saying about me. It wasn't. That was surely not what they were saying. They didn't care what was on the tag. I did. So I'm publicly apologizing to my sister right now for the way I acted as a 16-year-old who struggled. Okay, my bad. So then we get to the end of high school, right? Like the rest of high school, I am good. I made it to senior year. I graduated without any more body drama situations. And then the pageant happens and I went on overload. I am very grateful that the eating disorder did not come back, but it would have been very easy to bring it back, right? Like that is the time when the stresses, you need to be as small as possible. You are in a bikini on a stage in front of hundreds of people. Like there is a lot of stress going on when you're in a pageant and you're trying to look tiny next to these other tiny girls. So I ate like a rabbit. I worked out 15 hours a day. And I got tiny. Don't get me wrong. I got the smallest I have ever been. I hadn't looked at an Oreo in months. Wasn't healthy when the pageant was over and I was able to eat what I wanted. Wasn't good for me. Okay, that was a rocky time because I had gone from not being able to eat anything with sugar to now the world was my oyster and every food was on the table for me and I wanted to eat all of it because I had been starved for months to be able to do that. So it's just this unhealthy relationship with food. It's not being knowledgeable in what is a healthy amount to exercise, what is a healthy amount to sleep, what is good to eat, and what's a healthy weight for my body. Because I remember getting so small and thinking I just looked phenomenal. And I look back at pictures and I'm like, dang, look at those arms. Or like, oof, like my thighs were killing it. But I remember this boy told me that I looked like a skeleton with skin. That is how small in his mind I had gotten. I don't think I got that small, okay? I know the kind of people that you're thinking. I didn't look like that. I did not look like the Olsen twins when they were on drugs, okay? That is just not what I looked like. But for what my body type was, that is how he felt. And it's so funny now because I look back and I remember that when I was a junior in high school, I did the little junior miss, I don't know, distinguished young woman, whatever that thing is. And they did cutouts of every girl. And they did my cutout. And when I went to pick it up, the director of the entire program was like, the girl who made yours said, this girl has the most perfect body. And I I have never forgotten that because that was coming from a grown-up, right? Like that's coming from a woman who is out of high school, who sees way beyond the horizons of being a teenager. And that like my curves were not a punishment from God. Like my body was not something that I should be ashamed of or embarrassed of or trying to change and get rid of. Like I am how I am, and it's okay to exercise. We should be exercising. We should be eating healthy. But my body does not look like a lot of other people's bodies, and that's okay. My body is still beautiful. My body is still capable and strong, and I have so much self-worth regardless of what my pants say, okay? They're rude. They're disrespectful. They do not care about my feelings at all. And I know that because I have a whole rack of jeans upstairs right now that I stare at every day that they don't fit, okay? Every day I go and I look at those jeans because I buy them with the intent to wear them. One of these days I'm going to be in them and I'm going to be like, aha, I did it, like I got in them. And I know you're saying, Hannah, just buy jeans that fit you now. Yeah, no, I can't do that. That's not something I'm capable of doing yet. But do you know who I want to give a shout out to? If I can influence anyone to do anything, it is this. I am all about rebranding. I'm all about people reinventing themselves. And do you know what company has reinvented itself in the absolute best way? Abercrombie and Fitch, okay? When I was a kid growing up, they were the most expensive brand. The really rich kids wore it. Only the really skinny girls wore it. It was not body positive friendly in the slightest, okay? It made you feel bad if you even walked through the entrance and you weren't a size 00, okay? That is how it made you feel. But apparently they got a woman CEO, or the company got taken over by a woman, and they now offer their jeans in Curve Love or regular. And the Curve Love is for those of us with some curve, okay? And it's amazing. And they offer in lengths. Like my mom used to have to get all my jeans hemmed, which looked treacherous, but I would drag them across the ground because I'm so short. They come in different lengths, like extra short, regular, tall, extra tall. I will never need the extra tall in my life unless I'm wearing it from head to toe. And even then I probably don't need it extra long. But they have rebranded themselves to be a company that is for women's bodies. And you're not trying to fit the jeans, like the jeans are fitting you. So these jeans make me feel like a person. They make me feel excited. But I also love having goals. I love having something to work towards. And I am still in the trenches of losing the rest of that baby weight that Taco Bell made me gain. So I have these jeans that I'm so close to being in. And man, the day I fit in them, I have 6 pairs of jeans to now choose from. I currently have 2 that I'm wearing. I will have 6 more options. I'm ecstatic. I cannot wait. But it's been amazing to see a company who has models that are not 00, that are not these itty bitty things that are not realistic bodies to try to emulate. They're showing real life people in real life bodies, and it's beautiful, and it doesn't look edited and filtered and photoshopped to make them look a specific way. So then when you're buying it, you're like, wow, I would look great in this, and I don't need to be a 00. So shout out to them. They have been a game changer for me and the way that I view clothing, because what is hard on a girl who struggled with body dysmorphia and weight her whole life? Getting pregnant and gaining a ton of weight and then losing that weight when you have the baby, only they lie to you and they say you will lose the weight when you're nursing. That is untrue for majority of people, unless you are an Instagram influencer or a model who you can give birth and be on Dancing with the Stars 2 weeks later. Okay, that is not reality for a lot of us. For me, my body cannot lose weight when I'm nursing. And so I had to choose between losing the weight and fitting in my pre-pregnancy clothes or nursing a baby. And you might think like, that's not a hard choice. It is for someone who struggles to feel beautiful if they're over a certain number on the scale, which scales, throw them out. They are so rude. But that is how I, unfortunately, am. I see that and I'm like, that is what I am worth. If I get on the scale and it's not a number I like, my whole day is ruined. I walk around and I'm like, I am this, and it's that number, and that's just in my head all day, and I can't get it out. No matter what, no matter if my clothes look great on me or whatever it may be, I just see that number. So being pregnant, I never looked at the scale when I would go for my weigh-ins for all 3 pregnancies because I could not stand to see that number go up. It was horrendous for me. That was so triggering to see that number on the scale. I am growing a human inside of me, and I can't stand to look at the scale because it says I've gained 5 pounds. Okay, that is so unhealthy. I don't recommend it, okay? Obviously, that number should be going up. If it's not going up, you probably have a problem. But another really hard thing for me that was triggering in pregnancy was my first pregnancy. I was horrendously sick, and I threw up every single day of my pregnancy with Blake, and multiple times. One time, so many times that I was rushed to the emergency room because Taylor called my OB and was like, what do I do? And they were like, she needs to be in the hospital right now. So like bad. It was really, really bad. And it was so triggering for me because I hated throwing up because of what I had gone through in high school. Throwing up was so triggering to me that I was like, no, please no. And I would try to gag it back down. But that was how I spent my entire first pregnancy, was throwing up, but gaining weight while doing it. So that was really neat. And so it has been a constant battle back and forth of postpartum, pregnancy, trying to get in shape, trying to lose the weight, and then doing it all over again. And what I found was I needed to love myself more and give myself so much more grace than what I was doing because I was bringing life, right? I am doing something miraculous, and all I care about is the clothes and how they look on my body and feeling so embarrassed. And I remember after I had Cage, who is my baby, my 2-year-old baby, anytime I would go in public without him, I would tell anyone. They didn't ask. Don't worry. No one was asking. I was just like, oh, I just had a baby. Like, oh, my baby's at home. Like, he's this many months old. Like, oh, I'm still nursing. Can't lose the weight. Like, I would diarrhea of the mouth overshare of why I looked the way I did. I had to tell people why I looked like I did because heaven forbid I just look like this. Like, I needed them to know there's a reason. I normally look way more put together. I normally am much thinner. No one asked. I don't think anyone cared. And you know what? If they cared, I probably shouldn't want to be around them in the first place, okay? Like, those are not the kind of people I want to be around. But as I've gotten older and as my daughter has gotten older, I have realized that she is the perfect mirror to show me how talking about yourself will end up being repeated. And I remember when she was about 2 or 3 years old, I was standing in my bedroom in front of the mirror, and I told my husband, I'm so fat. Like, I look so fat. And a few minutes later, she walks in and she looks in the mirror and she goes, in her little baby, baby toddler voice, like, I so fat. And I remember I just stopped what I was doing and I looked at her and I was like, oh, no, baby. No, you're not. You are so beautiful. And it was a horrific moment for me because I was like, my beautiful little girl is looking at herself and she's repeating the words she saw her mom, who she loves and adores, talking about herself like that. And I realized that is how God feels about me when he hears me talking so poorly about my body, is that he's like, no, that is a beautiful body. Like, I made that body. It is perfect. It has done its job and it is strong. And like, you don't talk about my precious child like that. And I didn't realize that until I'm in this moment telling my little girl that she is so beautiful and she is so worthy and amazing. And it was a really changing moment for me of how I speak about myself and how I look at myself in the mirror, because I'm no longer looking at myself in the mirror. When I look in the mirror, I see her. And I want to talk to that mirror like I'm talking to her.